Demonstration Nugget Read Replication. Hello everybody, this is Ben Finkel, and in this nugget I'm going to demonstrate how you can enable read replication on your Google Cloud SQL databases really easily through both the command line interface as well as the developers console, the web user interface. So we're going to set up read replication. Let's begin with going to our console at cloud.google.com and make sure you're signed in with the right account. Choose the project that you want to work in. In our case it's going to be GSQL Nuggets, and expand your Cloud SQL dashboard here. So I'm going to start with taking a look at the D2 instance, and the first thing I want to do is make sure that my backups are enabled and binary logging is turned on. So I'll notice that no backups have run. So I'm thinking that I don't have any backups on this database. I don't have it turned on, and that is true. I need to enable backups, choose a time, 5 a.m. is fine. Select binary logging. That's all you need to do to get backups enabled with binary logging. However, it's not going to create a backup until it gets to that time. It's not 5 a.m. right now. So I'm going to jump over to my D1 instance where I happen to know that I already have backups enabled, binary logging turned on, and in fact I had a backup relatively recently. There it is. So December 8th at 12:41. I know that one was with binary logging enabled, so I can create a read replica of this D1 instance very easily. I'm simply going to click the button, create read replica. Not that hard, right? Create read replica. It comes with a default name, but I can name it anything that I'd like. This is D1 instance replica. Notice it's fixed to the same region, and the tier can be anything. It's got to probably at least be as big as the instance that I'm replicating, because obviously if my instance that I'm replicating gets large enough, I need to have enough space in the replica database, the slave database. But you can make it bigger if you would like. You can also show advanced options, and here you can see that you can enable and disable the different advanced options for creating a database. It looks just like creating a Cloud SQL database. You don't have all of the options available to you. Some things you're not allowed to change, but you do have a lot of them. Once you're ready, scroll down here, click the Save button. Oops, I have give it a new instance ID, Replica 2, because I was using that instance ID earlier when I tried this out. So I'll click Save. This is going to go ahead and create my read replica for me. And if you look at my dashboard here now, you see under the D1 instance indented is being created D1 instance-replica 2. In parentheses, it tells me that it's a read replica database. It's going to take a few minutes, but once it's up and running, this will be a replica of my D1 instance database. So once it's done there, you can see it highlights in blue because now it's clickable. I can launch right into it just like any other instance. It really is a Cloud SQL instance. It just happens to be a slave to the D1 instance, the master D1 instance. I can't enable backups on this. And really the only interesting things that I can do here are up top I can stop replication. Just click the button that says stop. And that's going to stop synchronizing the data from the master. When I want to start it back up again, I can click Start. So if I need to turn it off for any reason, I simply use that toggle button to disable and then re-enable replication. When I re-enable it, it will catch up with anything that it missed while it was turned off or while it was stopped. And I can promote this replica, if I'd like, up to a standalone read-write instance. That'll just make it its own instance, just like any other instance inside of my Google Cloud SQL. From the D1 instance here, also note that I can scroll down and I can see a list of my read replicas that are available. So it just gives me a quick link to see the slaves that are slaved to this master database if I happen to have any. That's kind of handy and nice. Now we can also do all of this from the gCloud SDK, the command line interface. Let's take a look at that now. From the command line, setting up our backups and our binary logging is as easy as calling gCloud SQL instances patch. We pass in the name of the instance that we want to patch, D1-instance. Then we use the two switches, --backup start time, which takes a 24-hour clock start time for the window for our backups to start. That will enable backups. And then --enable-bin-log will turn on, we'll check that box to enable binary logging on this instance. I'll go ahead and click enter even though I know this instance is already set up with backups and binary logging. So once that's done, now backups are enabled and binary logging is enabled. Once you have a backup that is run after binary logging was enabled, binary logging had to have been enabled when that backup was created, then you can call the gCloud SQL instances create command in order to create a read replica based on that database. It's literally no different than creating a regular gCloud SQL instance. The only difference is the switches that we're going to use when we create. So we'll give it a name. We'll call D1-instance let's call it CLI. And we'll pass in --master instance name. that's going to indicate that we want this to be a read replica of another database, some master database out there. What master database? D1-instance. So when I run this, I'm going to get my instance created, and it will be a slave to the D1-instance. So now it's done. We can see a new instance has been created, D1-instance-CLI, and it's available for me to promote to a regular read-write instance or start or stop replication on it if I want. That's very easy to do. I simply call gcloud SQL instances patch, pass in the name of my slave instance, in this case D1-instance-CLI, and then I simply say --enable database replication, or --no enable database replication. Either one, depending on which state the database is currently in. I'm not actually going to go ahead and execute this because, believe it or not, as of recording this nugget, this feature is still in beta. It doesn't actually work. So hopefully by the time you're watching this nugget, it's out of beta and it's all fully functional, and you'll be able to execute it and see it work just the way I had hoped. In the meantime, you can check out the documentation at this URL right here. It is cloud.google.com /SQL /docs /replication, and like I said, you can see here currently as I scroll down, enabling cloud SQL instances is only in beta. In particular, the CLI and the API doesn't fully compatible yet. That concludes this demonstration nugget on creating read replicas inside of Google Cloud SQL. We saw how you can use both the command line interface, the gcloud command, as well as the Developers Console, the web UI, to create your replicas of your master database. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.